Ah, hello everyone. This is Defense Politics Asia, and mapping for 3 4 hours straight. My brain hurts. So anyway, uh, this is the summary for the day of 1156 for the 24th of April. So um, as usual, we'll cover the SITREP, what the hell is happening. There's a geolocation of unusual place. Ukrainian artillery is super close to the front line, to the border actually. We are talking about the distance between like 8 to 8.52. So clearly, the Ukrainian artillery is trying to hit something within Russia. Uh, because the range is probably around 10 kilometers for the artillery. So this is getting very close, and this is also an area where the Russians potentially, oops, this is too thin. The Russians potentially already have control around here. This actually is all probably most likely under Russian control already. And this is probably why the Ukrainians sent artillery here and trying to hit some Russian positions, but it got spotted and then it got destroyed. So definitely there is still tension around the Sumy region. Something to we should always keep a lookout, because the Russians could potentially launch an attack into Sumy when they felt like yeah, the time is right. Actually, this is not Sumy region, by the way. This is the Chernihiv region. This is Chernihiv. The border of Chernihiv is actually like this. This is Chernihiv. So just to note, I say the wrong place. So over in the Kursk front, at the Kursk front, at the Sumy sector, geolocation of Russian forces in the south of Zuravka. So I'm going to zoom in a bit, and I can see the Russian forces have basically appeared in the southernmost part of Zuravka, confirming the Russian advance and capture of most of Zuravka. So, and because of the terrain, this is all open ground. No one can be here. So this is why the capture is includes all these open grounds west of this position. So the distance traveled is probably around 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, 1.5, around there. So there's something about that. Over in the Kursk sector, the Russians continue their operation at Oleshnya and Gorodno. And over at Gorodno, there is more developments. At Gorodno itself, Russian forces have been geolocated in new positions, showing the Russians continue their operations to go deeper into Gorodno itself. The monastery is basically on the outskirts. So the city, or the village or town, is basically much more deeper inside. So as I mentioned before, I've already done a battlefield analysis on this thing. So do check it out. It's on the DPA War channel. And also, before I forget, check your subscription below. YouTube have secretly unsubscribing you guys over the past 1 week or even 2 weeks, especially the past 1 week. So despite the video is all Ukraine war related, every video is gaining subs, even though it's not a lot, but the overall numbers is actually falling. Which is very unusual. So this is already a known issue that YouTube does secretly unsubscribe you guys. So do check the subscribe button. The battle against YouTube continues, because they definitely do not want you to know certain things that I'm telling you guys. So unfortunately, that seems to be the case. Over in the Belgorod incursion region, the Russian forces claim to have retaken Demidovka, and the Ukrainians are attacking in the direction of Kotorovka. There's some shelling reported at Veliki Proki, Petroshevka, Uroidi, Osoevka, as well as some attack at Maropilske. So I want to zoom. I want to push this up a bit just to explain a little bit on the Ukrainian actions. Ukrainian forces, as I mentioned previously, have gathered some forces at Maropilia, and they are attacking in the direction of Koptarovka. So this, they are trying to attack this, and I've indicated this as fighting at Milaivka. So that's something that is happening right here, as they are seeing that they are losing the grounds over in the Belgorod incursion. They're trying to create a new one. So whatever tactic or strategy this is stupid. There's the Ukrainians just like to do stupid things, and I have no words for this. Oh, I have. The word is called stupid. Sorry. I just realized I already said that. So we move on from the Kursk front. We go into the Kharkiv front. At the Kharkiv, we have no reports of fighting. We move into the Voreshna front. Voreshna front itself, we have fighting reported mainly over in the Battle of Kanyamka. So this is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. So there is some fighting around here. There is no news regarding the situation at Kanyamka. So we just have to wait for more intel. We move on to the Kupiansk front. At the Kupiansk front, fighting is reported in the Kupiansk region as well as Petropavlivka. Over at Zagoryukivka, we have geolocation indicating Russian advance over in Zagoryukivka, which is along this tree line. So basically that's it. The mapping I have mapped it this way mainly because this can't possibly have Ukrainian forces over there. So that's all from the Kupiansk front. We move into the Borova front. So the Borova front this time round, we have nothing over on the eastern side. The fighting is mainly all on the north at Zarizove, Bohuslavka, and Novakulyakivka. Otherwise, that's all from Borova front. Moving further south to the northern flank of the Liman front, we have fighting reported at Juzelyubivka, Ohevka. Shelling is reported at Andrievka, fighting towards Novi Mir, Rikodo, and Nove. So the Russian offensive operation in this sector continues. But so far, yeah, it is what it is. I think there's still a lot of mapping changes that's not brought to our attention. So definitely the mapping likely to be much more advanced than what we have right now. Over the southern flank of the Liman front, we have shelling reported at Yampil. Fighting is reported at Torske towards Zarishne as well as Koloziazi. On its own, nothing particularly special about this. We move on to the Siversk front. This is the Siversk front. Siversk front, we have shelling reported at Zakitne. Fighting is reported at Kharkovka, Bilohorivka, Velkomokanyamske, and towards Siversk. Otherwise, this is pretty typical right now. The Russians are trying at Siversk, but nothing particularly outstanding in my opinion. We move further on to the Bakhmut front. At the Bakhmut front, we have fighting reported over at Chasivya, Piteshne, Andrievka, and Bilohora. So that's all. Nothing particularly stand out as well, with the Russians mainly trying to do something around this sector in the south. Very interesting. Although yeah, the Ukrainian claim fighting around Klishchevka was not repeated. So yeah, definitely this front line is looking really, really unusual. We go on to the Torex front. So this is Torex, this is New York. So this is the Torex sector and the New York sector. In the Torex sector of the Torex front, we have fighting being reported. So let me do this. Yeah, fighting is reported at Dilievka. Krimsky, there is a geolocation of Russian advance. We'll zoom in a while. Fighting at Torex continue. Skrebenivka, Novopaske, which is also Petrivka, Leonidivka, and Ivano-Pilia was mentioned. But the front line for us right now doesn't stretch so far away. But tentatively, I'm going to assume that there's some kind of attack going on, but we're not sure where it is coming from right now. So we zoom in a bit, but you can see there is a lot of activities around here, particularly I think around this sector, and there's this seemingly some kind of flanking operation is currently happening over on the eastern side as well. Over in Krimsky, in the north, the Russian forces have arrived at the site of this lake. In this secret building where they find they try to create a DNA to revive the dinosaurs. That is contribute to some advancement over this region here. If you go in there, you'll probably find some Brachiosaurus walking around here, and then suddenly Jurassic Park music will play in the background. We move further on to the Torex, the New York sector. In the New York sector, we have fighting reported at Romanivka. Leonidivka, just now already mentioned. Fighting reported at KALYNOVE. Ukrainian mapping have mapped that KALYNOVE has been entirely captured by the Russian forces, corroborating Russian claims. So if you zoom in, this piece over here, 1.66 square kilometers, is mapped by the Ukrainians to be under Russian control. This encompasses the entirety of KALYNOVE, confirming Russians' full capture of the town, and basically confirms the Russians' capture, which was first announced on the 16th of April. So yeah, so that's the important development, which means the fighting will now definitely move towards Tarasivka. We move on to the Pokrov front. This is Pokrov, and this is the Pokrov front. Over in the northern flank, we have fighting reported over at Zelenopole, Tarasivka, Vodyany Druhi, Berezivka, Novopetrovka, Melanivka, Yelizaveta, and Maryolubivka. And clearly, if you have been following the Ukraine SITREP reported by DPA, you probably can identify that this is a lot of arrows and reported fighting in this sector. This sector usually isn't this active. So the Russians are definitely doing some active offensive operations, and particularly around this sector here, there's a lot of frontline change. So according to Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source have mapped that the Russian forces have captured grounds around Tarasivka, expanding their zone of control in the south of the town, as well as the forest over on the east of Vodyany Druhi is now under Russian control. So this means that Vodyany Druhi is even more secure than previously. If I zoom out a bit, you can probably see the strategic situation or tactical situation around here a little bit better, with the fighting now firmly moving in the direction of Berezivka, and the Russian forces still yet to confirm the capture of Tarasivka for now. So after the claims previously, we'll continue to wait for the information to come. Tentatively, that's what it is. Over in the Belgorod sector, at the Belgorod sector, the action here has reduced by quite a bit. Mainly, the fighting is directly in the south of Pokrov. With fighting reported towards Pokrov, Shunishine, Novopalivka, and Lysivka. So all in all, is mainly in the south of Pokrov. I don't expect too much from this area because tactically and strategically, it's not meaningful to push out so close to the city. It will be very suicidal to go so close to Pokrov for now. Moving into the Pokrov sector, we have fighting reported at Kotliny, Udashny, Novosahivka, Uspenivka, and Novo-Alexandrivka. So that's about it. The rooster head continues to survive, and we still have our rooster around here. So in case you cannot see the rooster, this is the eyes. Actually I should use another color. So the eyes is here, and then there's the beak, and then we have the rooster here, and then the crown. Yeah, but it's a bit flustered, so yeah. So that's the rooster. So anyway, we move on. Over in the southern flank, we have fighting reported at Kotlyarivka and Nadievka. So that's all. And also take note, it's a rooster, not a cock. Yeah, that doesn't sound right. Over in the Komar front. So this is Komar, and this is the Komar front. Over in the Andrievka sector, we have the usual actually. Fighting is reported at Andrievka, Constantinople, Rozliv, towards Bahate, towards Oleksievka, and shelling at Novo-Ukrenka. Novo-Ukrenka shelling is pretty unique. We don't usually have this. There is a few geolocation of a Max Pro, of two Max Pros getting hit by the Russian forces. So, but that's all. Clearly showing that the Ukrainians still actively, pulling forces into the region to hold back the Russians. So the combat capacity remains on the Ukrainian side. Over in the other side of the front line, we have fighting reported at Privyone, Venipole, as well as towards Zelenopole. But that's all. Nothing particularly stands out for this. The interesting thing that Venipole until today still survive is interesting. That the that the Russians having prevented and the Ukrainians have the Venipole with Russians attacking in, still cannot capture the small little village. So definitely the means the Ukrainians are pouring forces into this area, strongly supporting this area. Firmly again is to prevent the Russians reaching the border between the Dnipropetrovsk as well as Donetsk, which is D and D. Over in the Zaporizhia front, at the Zaporizhia front, Zaporizhia is here by the way. This is the Zaporizhia front. At the Orikhiv sector, fighting has returned. We have fighting reported over at Mala Tomashka, as well as Novodanilivka. So this is pretty usual because the last report, we have nothing over at the Orikhiv sector. Kayamsky sector remains the same. The Russians continue to do their main offensive in this area, with fighting reported at Stepove, Mali Shabaki, and Tuespalivka. Otherwise, that's all from the Kayamsky sector. And we move into the Kherson front. The Kherson front, we have the usual, with the Ukrainians claiming that there is Russian attacks in the Dnipro direction. Otherwise, shelling reported at Pontativka and Tokarivka. For Kherson front, if you have followed DPA for a long time, you know that the shelling used to be across the entire front line. In the past, maybe half a year to 1 year, the shelling is mainly only in this sector. Only this area here, the focus is here. It's all in this area usually. So yeah, so maybe the Russians are preparing something for the midterm, not in the short term, but in the midterm they are probably planning something to retake the Antonivsky's bridge and also the railway crossing at the Pridniprovsky perhaps. But anyway, let's wait and see. So thank you for watching. This is the summary for the day of 1156 for the 24th of April. As I mentioned earlier, check out the subscription button. Make sure you're still subscribed and press the like button. And I'll see you guys in the next update.